Brock Purdy leading and Brock Purdy trailing in the fourth, it's not that it's disappointing. It drops off a cliff. Absolutely drops off a cliff. So Mahomes can't, Mahomes is the standard, and nobody's Mahomes, so let's not. But I went this morning and I looked at Kirk Cousins, leading or tied, his passer rating and his completion percentage. Kirk goes from great leading to solid trailing. Baker Mayfield, when he's leading, he completes 58%. When he's trailing, he actually completes 61%, and his passer rating is better when he's trailing. So Baker's better trailing than leading in the fourth. Literally, Purdy, bad weather, it's a little sloppy, doesn't have a run game, trailing, falls off a cliff.
Let's stop with this nonsense right here. I'm going to let this clip play, but I'm so happy I just remembered this. I remember last year, Colin Cowherd went through the whole thing, and it was all about Shanahan. Shanahan leading versus Shanahan trailing. Shanahan in the fourth quarter versus Shanahan not. It was all on Shanahan. All on Shanahan. Not Brock Purdy, because it was with other quarterbacks, not just Purdy. And now, fast forward, and I wish I could find that video, but I will never be able to find it. It was last year. I don't even know if I saw it on YouTube, if I saw it on TV. It was before I even had this channel. And it was, without a doubt, them saying, look at Kyle Shanahan. He's not good from behind. He's not good with other quarterbacks when he's trailing in the fourth quarter. Yada, yada, yada. He is really built to get the lead and go from there. So now they want to put this indictment on Brock Purdy. Like Brock Purdy suddenly just can't throw. Like Brock Purdy suddenly just throws interceptions come time fourth quarter, and he can't throw touchdowns, and it's his big problem. And I think that's so fundamentally flawed. If anyone can find that clip, by all means, please go find it and then let me know. Send it in the comment section. But I am 100% confident about this. I remember it so vividly. Colin did a whole thing about Shanahan and about the fourth quarter and all of this. And so I just want to know why we've now, are playing the shell game, and now we're putting this all on Purdy in this individual moment. That, to me, makes no sense. I don't think Colin's doing it on purpose, because Colin is making a ton of content and is obviously on TV 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, a ton. So I don't blame him for doing this, but it's just one of those things where I find this incredibly misleading. Incredibly misleading.
And does that, and by the way, that's called playoff football. You could take a bow on this because you were on this.
The fact that they were, listen, they were the #1 red zone team in the league last year. And folks beat me over the head saying, why won't you give Brock Purdy credit? Why do you disrespect Brock Purdy? And I just said, listen, I'm not going to act like he is not playing well, but I'm also not going to lie and say I think he is the reason the Niners are having such success. He has all the same people except Christian McCaffrey, who scored a touchdown in literally every game he played as a Niner, it seemed like, is gone. And now they're not good in the red zone. Brock Purdy this summer said...
You know who's worse in the red zone this season? The Kansas City Chiefs. Is it Patrick Mahomes' fault?
What he wanted to do to take his game to the next level was the Tom Brady effect of when we have a lead late to really seize control of the game and to not, turn a 1-score game into a 2- and 3-score game. Well, what that's turned into is turning a 1- or 2-score lead into losses. As since the Super Bowl, they were under Brock Purdy, since he had been there, prior to the Super Bowl, 19 games they led by double digits. They were 18-1. From the Super Bowl to now, 5 games they have led by double digits. They are 2-3. Like, there are some real... Listen.
And why is that going all on Brock Purdy? You mean to tell me that has nothing to do with defense? That has nothing to do with Shanahan's play calling? That has nothing to do with the fact that they fired their defensive coordinator last year, and now they have a new coordinator. That they don't even have their full strength defensively as well. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has nothing to do with the fact that he has not had the full cast of Avengers, because he's had a lot of these guys going in and out of the lineup. So it has nothing to do with any of that, right? Nothing to do with Brandon Ayuk just playing really bad for those first few games. That's on Ayuk. Him literally just dropping the ball. Him kind of like sulking and being a baby in practices and not wearing like the right, clothing apparently. That it's all magically on Brock Purdy. That's what you mean to say. It was the same. Everything was the same last year, including Brock Purdy. Now it's different this year. But rather than trying to put any of the blame on anyone else, it just all for some reason magically all goes to Brock Purdy. That's the point that fundamentally makes absolutely, positively no sense. You didn't give him credit last year for having that success. And now that they're having the lack of success, he's getting the blame. That doesn't make sense. You realize that, right? You can't get the blame for something if you didn't get the praise when things were good. It doesn't make sense. You didn't get the praise when things were good, but now you get the blame for when things are bad. That fundamentally does not make sense. Make no mistake about it.
He is a better player than a 7th-round pick quarterback should be. That is obvious. He is a legitimate starter in this league, which I was skeptical of at the beginning. That at this point is obvious. But he was top 5 MVP voting last year. People are already saying, well, the Niners have to plan to pay the guy $60 million.
Ugh.
And my question to that is, do they? And is that smart? Because I think Brock Purdy has overachieved and has proven my initial kind of caustic skepticism wrong. Is he a definitive top 12 quarterback in football? I don't think so. And I think that you are seeing some of those potential weaknesses in his overall physical skill set show up in some of these spots.
So I want to go back.
Oh man, I really wish I could find that clip. I just never will. It'll be too hard to find. So I really hope one of you guys, I hope the internet can just be the internet and you can find it. Your best chance is probably going to Colin's YouTube page and searching for it. Again, it was all about Shanahan from behind and all of that. And that was the criticism. It was all on Shanahan. And now it's just all on Purdy. And again, they were all successful. And now they're kind of struggling, and it's just all the blame falls on Purdy, and it just does not make sense. It just doesn't. It's just so absurd at this point. I mean, it's just I really don't get it. I really don't get it. While all these other quarterbacks will get the benefit of the doubt, right? They all get the benefit of the doubt, and yet Brock Purdy, if he doesn't have like a perfect game, a pristine game, he's the problem. He's the problem. And he he says crazy things, Nick, saying things like, oh, he's not a top quarterback, and he puts quarterbacks like Dak Prescott and Baker Mayfield ahead of Brock Purdy, right? Which is just absurd at this point to even flirt with that, quite frankly. I mean, it really is. It really is. Just as Travis O'Shea told me, don't say this, but I got to. It's just like, just look at the film. If you just look at the film, I don't care about stats. I don't care about who he's throwing to. I don't care about who his coach is. Just look at his execution. Look at his accuracy. Look at his ball placement. Look at his timing and rhythm and his anticipation. Look at the reads that he makes. Those just show up on film. You don't even need to be an expert. It's very obvious. It's very clear. So you could throw stats and who he's playing with and who his coach is just out the window. You don't even have to look at that. It honestly doesn't even matter, especially because obviously Brock Purdy wins that. So this is just absurd. I mean, it really is. And it just shows you that there's so much more to winning than just pure quarterback play. Because Patrick Mahomes has more interceptions than Brock Purdy, less total yards than Brock Purdy, less yards per attempt than Brock Purdy. But Patrick Mahomes has a way better defense honestly a better head coach. I mean, that's not really that controversial. No matter how good you think Shanahan is, Andy Reid's better. And a better defensive coordinator in Spags. So they're 5-0. They win their games. Right? They win their games. Even though Patrick Mahomes has thrown at least one interception in every single game he's played this season. Every single game. At least one. I mean, he's on pace for like 20 or so interceptions. I mean, it's wild. He has not been playing well at all. No question about it. Whether you look at it on the film, whether you look at the stats, however you want to slice it. And yet they're 5-0. That's not proof. Right? And Joe Burrow has been balling out. He's been a top quarterback in the NFL right now. And he has one win. I mean, those things together are proof that you can't just put it all on the quarterback. That you can't just look at pure stats to show you the answer. So, I mean, it's like, I'm not even like a big Brock Purdy mega fan here. I'm not telling you all that I think Brock Purdy is like top 2 quarterback in the NFL. But this idea that everybody just has to keep going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on Brock Purdy, I mean, it's just so absurd. It's just absurd at this point. I mean, it really is. I thought we were beyond that. Especially when Colin Cowherd's like, Brock Purdy's a franchise quarterback. He impressed me. And now we're like back to this. It's like, do we have like collective amnesia? It's just honestly, it's absurd. It really is. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Brock Purdy and him just being an epic failure for the 49ers? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.